Well, Kyle?
Yes, Garrett.
It's only level 83.
Lord Quintus! The blood of the fallen. Here, have a taste before it gets cold.
Whew, Kyle, that was, not how I saw it going.
Why would a story avoid the most basic beat imaginable? The bad guy at the end. Why would you do that? Because you have too much story to tell, that's why.
It's calling its shot, it's planting its flag. This is everyone with a pen to a paper, anyone involved with telling a sentence of this story, declaring, you thought that was going to be it? We have so much more to show you. And we have such sight to show you. Don't forget, catch us playing through the MSQ right here on the YouTube channel. And you can catch our live clips and highlights on the Grinding Gear Clips channel. Thanks for subscribing to both.
Have the ill stand down.
You have been listening, my lord? What are your orders?
I didn't love the beginning of Garlemald, but it was worth it. This went places.
It was cold. It was lonely. It embodied so many themes.
You can't mention embodied this early in the video because I'm going to want to make an immediate segue to Fandaniel.
Because he got bodied?
He quite literally embodied Zodiark.
Oh, because you could also do, you could do Varys there. There's a lot of bodies going on. It's a busy body place. I do find it interesting, the generational divide. We get to meet old Garleans and younger Garleans, and Zenos is this weird kind of middle ground. On the highest echelons of Garlean royalty and status, but also in his own way, rejecting his own society.
I'm not thinking about Zenos at all in this. Zenos is perverting any sense of belonging to Garlemald. An entire nation are pawns. I don't factor Zenos into what they're showing me of Garlemald here at all. If anything, it's the opposite. It is making Zenos's actions the most disgusting they could be. We are sitting here humanizing the Garleans, humanizing our enemies for a game that if you started at 2.0, you've been playing for 10 years? We're dealing with Quintus and Quintus's soldiers, and until the end of this particular chapter, they're all more or less on the same page, although some under duress. But they're each struggling with the reality of their nation. And we essentially have Euless representing the rest of them, and we have Quintus representing old Garlemald. But they're on the same track until they're not, because they decide to accept the reality of their situation in different ways.
I know in our previous video, we said this is a effort to humanize the Garleans. If you disagree with that, you have to at least agree that there is a mighty tapestry being painted. And this goes in this section here.
Painted with blood.
To Zenos, Quintus, Gaius. We have met so many different Garleans with so many different viewpoints. Nero! Where the hell's Nero? Bring back Nero, please. Thank you. I even saw a car in that duty, and Nero wasn't driving it. What gives?
We'll have a raid where Nero will show up, probably.
I hope so. Because I got Maximus back, another piece of the tapestry.
This was a great section, and I think it comes at a perfect point here in the Endwalker story. I don't know, when I see all of it in conclusion, who knows, maybe my thoughts will change. But the fact that in a single day of play, granted it was a marathon stream, we literally went from, I think, a very good, very nuanced look at war and its toll on soldiers, particularly the losing side of a war, to literally like going to the moon, hanging out on the moon, adventuring on the moon, and referencing the moon at all times. Like this, Garlemald is perfectly placed here. The pieces are exactly where they should be, and there's all the reasons in the world for us to go here first before going to the moon because of the stage that they've set up here in Endwalker, and I loved it. I thought it was a little slow when I got here. I was expecting Garlemald to feel a lot more threatening, but now I get it. I eventually got a solo duty that made it feel really freaking threatening, and if they had just like thrown that at my face out the gate, that solo duty wouldn't have hit the same. There's a real lesson to be learned here in restraint if you're out there interested in how to construct a story. So I did feel it was a little slow, and I think it is a little slow, but I think it's all in service to the greater story being told here, and I love, as dark as it is, the cap on the Garlean story that's told as soon as we get to Garlemald here. It's really well handled. A lot of times the thing that I feel a lot of folks that play this game think are dark, I don't think is dark. This is properly dark. This invokes some of my favorite drama I've watched, be it in movies or TV or read in books. Like that, this is top tier drama.
It is expertly paced. And the information they dole out, such as the reason for the Garlean flag.
The Garlean flag bears a chain, the bonds between our countrymen. A red link at its center, the blood of the fallen. Our loved ones who lived and died for Garlemald.
Becomes important very quickly afterwards. They aren't mincing words, and they aren't wasting your time. And everything is building to going to your buddy's house and seeing what happened to his family.
Yeah, we get Euless's tragic backstory, which plays off of a zombie trope that I love. You know, having to contend with your family turning.
And not only do you have an entire world of magic people outside who don't have to deal with this sort of trouble that Garlemald as a nation sits in, of course you don't want to question what you did back then. You don't want to think about how flying pigs could come in and make it all better. That doesn't make you feel great. So you're going to fight against that.
And for folks like Quintus, who represents the older generation, it's all you've known. You're not gonna just accept this. You're not just gonna lay down and be like, "Yo, yeah, cool. I totally believe you and everything that you're saying. Let me just roll out the red carpet for you." Of course, that's not how it's gonna go down.
It's a classic literary device where a character can't exist in the new world. In whatever's being built, they don't have a place in it.
The writing here does a great job of humanizing Quintus. I certainly, to a certain degree, understand where that character is coming from, but the writing also doesn't let Quintus off the hook too easy. Quintus, we move into his big like double cross where we thought we were going and scavenging ceruleum with Euless to help warm the soldiers that are left behind that are literally losing parts of their body to frostbite and starving to death. And Quintus is like, nah, use it as fuel for the war machines. So we're going to double cross you. We're going to take what we need from your camp. I'm going to let my people suffer longer than they needed to make a point. And to me, that's it. That's Quintus going beyond the pale, taking that one step too far over the line as he is presented to us in the story, where we meet him in the story. He's once again our villain. Nuanced villain? Yep. Understandable villain? I think so, but a villain nonetheless.
Oh yeah, he's a bastard. He abandoned his men. At the end of the day, he abandoned them.
I think there's differing opinions on this. I think that was him being the best we've seen him. I think it's the best thing Quintus has done.
Relieve them of duty.
Absolutely.
Can't take it that way. Absolutely.
But Varys didn't get that chance. Varys gets cut down, and then evil forces use that to their advantage. Had Varys had a chance to tell Garlemald, free yourselves, get out of here, the ship is going down, would everyone have believed him and done that? No, but some would have. A lot of lives potentially could have been saved, and I think Quintus saved lives here. It's all fiction, but I like reading into fictional characters.
Now, it is time for you to awaken. Good morrow to you. Here, have a taste before it gets cold.
And then we get a restful supper, right? Just a restful supper. Nothing happens.
Y'shtola asking us if we want to sit down for a supper is the biggest lie this game has ever told us. Is the biggest misdirection.
Is it though? Because we did sit down for supper.
Not like that. Not like that. Y'shtola giving spoilers here.
I think this was my favorite. If we were to tier all the campfire scenes, this was the most tearful for me. I love a good sense of belonging. I love Hercules. I get so into it when someone finds safety and comfort and getting that Alamegan stew.
It's out of the frying pan into the fire, like classic, that moment. This is one of my favorite payoffs in the game so far. The roar coming from the tower, your lovely soup scene being tragically cut short as Eulis and the rest of the, I guess now Garlean refugees get tempered.
I'm so happy he made it, but man, just one line of being like, yeah, Eulis is okay. Don't worry about that right now. Wasn't enough. Let me see him. Let me know he's okay.
It is a miracle we were able to restrain the tempered without suffering casualties.
You don't spend that much time on a character and kill them off screen unless you're No Country for Old Men. Yeah, I'm with you. I was a little bit worried.
Oh, but be sure to remove your helmet. Take a moment, too, to familiarize yourself with that borrowed flesh.
The dinner with Zenos and Fandaniel scene, dude. Like, I don't think I've ever struggled on one of these videos to like come up with anything of substance to say, because I just loved it. This was wonderful. As a #1 villain fan here at Grinding Gear, no notes. Compliments to the chef.
Tonight is the night. There are so many reasons to love this. First of all, the fan service of it all. Who doesn't want to have dinner with Zenos? A menacing meal across the long Batman table.
This entire video is like gonna be me talking about everything I learned to love that at one point annoyed me. Like Quintus, wonderful place where it ended in terms of storytelling. Fandaniel wanted to just knock his teeth out. The first scene we ever saw him. By the end of all of this, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but my ending thoughts on Fandaniel and Amon are wonderful. I think I like him better than Elidibus.
He didn't overstay his welcome, and that's part of the many pieces going on here. We have this fabulous, what we now know is one of the final scenes with him, where we get to enjoy all the theater kid energy he could possibly muster, being our butler.
The tuxedo!
Yeah, and it's a very unique tuxedo, so hey, FanFest costume coming 2 years from now. I love this, but I love it on an even deeper level, because here we're in an MMO. There are going to be restrictions. There's going to have to be excuses for playing together. Trials, dungeons, all that sort of thing. And here's a fascinating puzzle. How do you have dinner with Zenos? And how do you have him take over your body? Where do you go? What model did they give you? What does Zenos look like when he smiles as a Lalafell? They found a way to do all of this inside their game engine. I mean, it's a corporation. You know, hopefully they have enough money to actually tell their story. But I just mean in the engine itself, the pieces they played with here and using your character so effectively. This is in my top 5 RPG moments ever. And I've played games that can be way more dynamic because they're not server-based, 12 years old. And from a writing perspective, you have all these little toys and pieces that you're moving about. You have blocking, craftsmanship, cinematography going on. But then working in top of that, the game has to function. It has to be readable. The puppet Garlean soldier here is so fascinating. What a cool idea. And then what do you want to see? What do you want to see in this moment? You want to see yourself right over there. Where is your body? It's sitting in a damn throne for Zenos to occupy.
My brain was going a mile a minute. Like if you go back and watch us like during the stream, in my head, in my memory, this is like the most I've ever like just blurted out thoughts over the cutscene in real time. I don't know if I actually did or not, but like I know I mentioned something. Like at first I thought Zenos was gonna put us in the Elysian body that he was running around in. Like at first I'm like, oh wait, is that his body? It's gonna be like we're gonna take the helmet, but I guess it made more sense that it was Garlean armor. But I was like, oh, Zenos gonna put us in the body that he used. He's gonna use our body to fight his whole body. I'm like, and then like immediately I was like, right about the time I thought, no, that's too convoluted. It became clear what was actually happening.
And there's a very good reason it's a Garlean soldier. It's about perspective. And the amount of perspective that duty gives on the back end is huge.
Well, the everything leading up to this point, from the second we step into Garlemald until this dinner with Zenos, the story is trying to say, hey, walk a mile in the Garlean shoes, and then they go and literally put us in the Garlean shoes. Quite literally, as literal as it can be. Borrowed flesh, as Van Daniel puts it.
And they suck.
They do.
They kind of suck.
They are level 1 paladins, and it blows.
But in perspective, you feel that power of something like the Magitech. Force of numbers, fighting those bears and that Yeti.
I love this call. I love Stormblood, dude. Like, the further we get away from it, the more love that grows in my heart for Stormblood. And I love that they call back to the mad scientist that we fight in Alamigo.
Initiate soul extraction. Success.
And their mind jack technology, as referred to it by Van Daniel, which I love. I'm like, I'm playing Cyberpunk. That seems just a hair. It seems like a hair out of universe for me. For Van Daniel to say mind jack.
Mind jack technology.
I mean, they do play video games. Did you know that video game devs play video games?
And also, like, we immediately get our Varys theory confirmed because the monster inside the Tower of Babel roars and Van Daniel looks to the door and refers to him as Daddy.
Oh my! Daddy is pleased his grumpy little boy has finally found his playmate.
Yeah, we get all of our Varys theory confirmed, essentially. Like, Van Daniel doesn't go as far as to say we dismembered him and put a part of him in every single tower, but refers to the towers around the world as an extension of Anima itself, after having already explained that the Garleans' faith in their emperor was quite literally channeled through Varys' corpse. So if the towers are extensions of Anima itself, and Anima is quite literally made from Varys' corpse and Y'shtola's on arm, Illuminati confirmed. Varys got chopped up Dexter style and thrown around the world.
There it is. What a fabulous model. And you know what my favorite thing about the power of friendship is? When your friends are actually powerful.
Aye, 'twould appear so. Thou art struggling to perceive his presence.
Yet again, this story chooses to dodge the waste of time that could be in the room. Zenos messing things up. Our friends that we have quested with for so long, not picking up on the subtlety. But it's immediate, and extra props for not just giving it to Y'shtola this time.
I want to make sure I understand what you're complimenting here. Because, Kyle, I don't know if you are aware of this. Fast and the Furious made an entire movie. They filled more than 2 hours with the completely absurd notion that the crew, the quote unquote family in Fast and the Furious, would actually think for 1 second that Dominic Toretto became a bad guy, turned his back on his family. That's the plot of an entire Fast and the Furious film. I paid $30 to see that in the theaters.
I hate this trope in Spider-Man, in romantic comedy, misunderstandings when someone's saying goodbye to their ex. Like, what a waste of my time.
I don't absolutely hate the trope. It is very tired. And for me, how much I enjoy it comes out of what you do with it. I think they probably could have done something interesting with like Warrior of Light on the run. The world hates you, but it's not what we're here for. It's not the story they're here to tell.
Spider-Man is a menace. No, our friends are so powerful. They've been through so much.
You really don't want J. Jonah Jameson in Eorzea? Come on. I want to see Eorzea and J. Jonah Jameson. That'd be fantastic.
Okay, a little Lalafell with a little mustache, read a little newspaper.
I like to imagine that that's how Tataru's voice sounds whenever she's mad about how much money Alphino has spent. Alphino is a menace.
The story of Don Trail confirmed. All right, well, we got that out of the way. And you throw your weak little sword, block his awesome stand Reaper thing that's like got its hands on its eye.
It's a shade.
I love the hands on the eyes things. It's a little overdone, you know, with My Hero Academia in the world and all that. Ooh, my hand on my face. But going back to my old priest armor from Burning Crusade, covered eyes. As long as we're not doing a monkey thing, love it. Great motif.
This is why we're friends. It's such a great scene, the throwing of the sword, the whole solo duty. We already talked about the solo duty. I don't like solo duties. I love the last 2 solo duties. This solo duty's amazing. It's good. It's a good solo duty. They did I think of it as a Call of Duty thing because they're...
Oh, the crawling? Yeah.
Crawling.
Yep.
You could also say MGS, but I'm not looking at an old man's wedgie the whole time. So for me, it's called, like, it's really well done. It's also the first time I ever finished a solo duty way before Kyle. He usually beats me with a lot of time to spare. So I'm also super proud of this. And we were doing a marathon stream and I was hosting it because Kyle was in person. SupportOurBromance.com.
SupportOurBromance.com.
People got to see me do pretty well on a solo duty. So I'm really proud of it.
I got a little stuck. I was stuck in a cathedral and there was a little jump I thought I could make. And I gave that jump my all for an extended period of time. They want to do a scene where somebody crawled. How are you going to make that for every single character? It's too much work for one scene. So they came up with a way to pull it off. And it was so effective. Now, could I put on my theory hat, my tin foil and get nuts and say, ooh, sniper class coming in because we're working on a little ghillie suit crawl tech? Wouldn't that be fun? There are 2 scenes I want to see as Lalafell now. The first, the Asahi bend over. And now this, the body check yourself as Zenos, as a Garlean soldier. I want to see a Lalafell get body checked is what I'm saying. A little tiny evil Lalafell.
Little evil. We know they're all evil. Sorry, Lalafells. But
we played A Realm Reborn. We know
this.
Too.
You know this. Yeah. You know what's up. You've met
Dirty
Tataru.
Money.
And then according to Fandaniel, the soul swap effect is like, I guess, time limited. And that's how the Warrior of Light ends up getting their body back. That's how we get our body back. Fandaniel warns that Anima is about to awake and usher in the final days. He fails to say with extra steps, as we'll learn later on. And when he said this in a moment, I'm like, okay, I guess Anima's gonna usher in the final. And it's like, no, Anima's gonna, I guess, break Zodiark out of prison, and then we're gonna have to kill Zodiark, and then Zodiark's gonna usher in the final days. I guess that's what's going on here.
So I guess he wouldn't be the battery, because that'd be the souls and the ether. He'd be the conduit. So he is ushering. Yeah, ushering's the right word.
Anima was just an overly elaborate way to like shoot an ether laser at the Zodiark prison on the moon. Like so quick. All these things that could have like been their own expansions worth of a threat. Zenos stealing our body. That could have been the crescendo of all of this. Actually, still might be. I don't think we're quite done with stealing bodies. I don't think we're quite done with this technology.
Goodness, no. I mean, it's an obscure thing to bring up. I love that. I remember doing that dungeon as both being really excited by the mechanic of make it back to your body. What a cool thing to do a callback to.
I'm not done counting. Major threat that could have been its own thing. Body stealing with Zenos and Fandaniel. That could have been it. Anima. Anima's a massive threat. There's so much lead up to Anima. Anima is essentially the cliffhanger of the final patch of Shadowbringers. And Anima's kind of a footnote here. We go into the dungeon, we're about to talk about it, and kick Anima's ass. And the third big one that we're about to get to. It's so much, all of this is, I cannot believe there's more after what we just played.
If I want to be cheeky, I could say something like, amazing, right? When you're not doing filler quests. Amazing, right? When you don't have to deal with the trash between every point. Final Fantasy XIV is just a different kind of game.
It is 100% a different type of game. Yeah. And some people want more gameplay than Final Fantasy XIV has to give you. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of cutscenes. And if you have a preference, it might not land for you. I've never really experienced a game like this. I've played a chunk of Final Fantasy X, a chunk of Final Fantasy X-2, never beat them. I'm not used to having this much narrative in my RPG experience. But I don't think one's better than the other. I think this is just one way to do it, and it's a very well done way to do it.
It reminds me of what EA was trying to pull off. Make a solo play experience and you stick around for the multiplayer on the back end.
This video is a cornucopia of ways to take Kyle out of context and get angry.
It's a compliment. People want to be this.
I love it. Some folks are not going to take it that way.
The gods themselves will be my meal. Your dear companions my dessert. Upon this world I'll feast, and death shall follow in my wake.
Zenos talks about planning to feast on the gods themselves and our companions, which seems like an interesting order. I feel like the gods should come after our companions in ascending order of power delivery. Zenos is just hungry. How much Zenos invokes hunger and food and eating in his Endwalker dialogue, it pains me how almost right you were about your ridiculous eat the moon theory.
He wants to consume. There is a void in him.
By the end of this, dude, we find out you were kind of right. You were correct with extra steps. Should I be reading into the visions of Vitra, by the way? This is my last thought about this whole body swap situation, because the way they transition us from being in the body of the Garlean soldier to back in our Warrior of Light body is the Warrior of Light has a vision of Vitra and reminds us of, like, it's that scene where Vitra was like basically reminding us of the power of friendship to protect our companions. Invokes the twins a lot in that scene, but we kind of see that scene again, but it's just Vitra in like a black void because it's us like recalling, and that's how they transition us back to our body. Should I be reading into this more? Was that super important, or was it just because Zenos just threatened our companions and we're thinking about that threat and we're remembering Vitra's words, and it's a nice transitional device to get us back to our body?
To me, it served as a reminder, an opportunity to quest on your own. Go back to when we were full of light and our friends immediately had our back and wanted to quest with us. We needed our friends. But here Vitra's words are that,
"For upon thy life's reel wind too many threads."
This is a quest you're going to have to undertake for yourself, but never forget those that are supporting you. Use that, and that is a source of power, though the next step will be one you take alone.
How much foreshadowing is that? Are they foreshadowing quite literally the fact that we go to the moon alone and then pretty quickly get reunited with the Scions? Or is there going to be a larger, more alone step that we take beyond what we just saw here?
Dude, yes. Yes, all of it, yes. We're gonna Sailor Moon this biz. Everybody's dead. Maybe we're dead, but certainly all our friends die. Maybe the world dies. Maybe everybody dies and is turned into ether. But by nature of our actions, we are going to perform some sort of rebirth, and all the Sailor Scouts will resurrect for the next season.
Could you do an anime I've watched? Can you do Dragon Ball Z instead? Because everybody dies, the world explodes, and they use the Dragon Balls to bring the Earth back.
The flower's going to be involved, and I guess all the gods are going to be involved. I'm not sure on that part yet. But there is a path that is extremely lonely coming up.
Why would the gods be involved?
Oh, because Zenos wants to eat them.
Yeah, but I think he's talking about primals, not the deities that you can choose at the beginning of making your character.
But we have, I don't know. We have a guy named Hades already. We met a big
He's not
Jugman.
one of the gods, though.
Is he not?
He's not the god the way that Jugman's a god.
Is he not, though?
He's not. He's not. There are very specifically the 12. By the 12. There's 12 gods, and Hades is not one of them.
I don't know, man. If you had the power to make anything you wanted out of ether, including your fears destroying the world, I'd call that a god. I think there's a good chance all the gods
They sort
in
of
that whole
do.
lineup when you make your character are just Amoritines who traveled the stars or something like that.
I'm not refuting that. I take issue with the blurring of lines between primals as gods, Hades as a god, and the 12 gods that are essentially recognized within Eorzea. Are you just blurred? Are you just saying gods, shblah, and it's all of them? Anything could be a god.
For Zenos' point, yes.
Okay.
Because we don't know what he's referring to.
Because so far I think he's always been referring to Zodiark, and now later on I think he's turning his sights to Hydaelyn.
I also think it's like hyperbole, in a sense. Like, let the gods bear witness to our love. They don't actually mean that in some hot air balloon. It's a lovely moment, but no one wants to piss off the gods.
Okay, so you're not thinking about it too much, and I am thinking about it too much.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw this as a casual flashback, and like I said, I see Zenos as a tapestry of the end of days, as another way that the world can end in the fires of cleansing because he hates his dad so much.
Zenos is a daddy-issued new metal lover. Confirmed.
Absolutely. He's an angsty teen with too much power.
Well, by the power of our friendship, we've reached an understanding. I cannot believe I'm going to sum up the Tower of Babel by saying, we make our way through it, and we defeat Anima. But that's basically what happens.
You could also sum it up as a better Zot.
That wouldn't be hard.
Zot had to walk so Tower of Babel could fly, right? You wouldn't want it to be better than your big fake climax that you're gonna pull later on. So you had to be reserved.
Tower of Zot had to Final Fantasy IV reference so that Tower of Babel could shoot us to the moon.
Well, and could Final Fantasy X reference? I was having a weird moment in there. I beat Final Fantasy X, but it was when I was 16, and I remember like Kiss on the Lake, Daddy Issues, Healing the Dragon, and Blitzball. I didn't really recall much else, so this Visage of Anima was badass. Is it a reference? Apparently. Have I seen it before? Apparently. But just the chains and the hands and the flesh growing over a face and the teeth. Like, it didn't even look like Varys. This thing's awesome. What a model.
Totally worked for me, and I didn't recognize it. Anyway, so we defeat Anima. Fantastic boss fight. Fantastic dungeon. Fandaniel dungeon. And Fandaniel uses a console at the top of the Tower of Babel to fire an ether laser upon the moon, hoping to unleash Zodiark. A seal shows up that looks exactly like what we were always standing on when we would talk to Hydaelyn back in Realm Reborn. And the colors of the seals around the circle start breaking one by one, and it stops at green. And Hydaelyn appears in Kryle's body to talk smack to Fandaniel.
Kryle. Hydaelyn. Krydelin.
Hi to Kryle.
This would have been a great time to say, don't kill Zodiark. Just throw it out there. Like, whatever you do on the moon, don't kill him.
This is one of my biggest things in my brain right now is like, why didn't anyone tell us it was bad to kill Zodiark?
Probably because they didn't think we'd actually do it. Maybe Hydaelyn's not intimately familiar with the power we've got from Azum and all that sort of business. There are many reasons. Hey, I finally put together where the talisman is from, what it was reminding me of. This. It's got the crystals in a circle with the colors, and it's like yeah. So that's why it works. It's kind of an artificial little seal.
That's cute. Yeah, because if it's like sealing in like the original primal, then why wouldn't you have a similar design to protect you from current primals?
You mentioned, are we done with body swapping and mind jacking? No, we fight a Frankenstein's monster. Well, that'll happen, right? I mean, the Garleans love making motorcycles out of people, but we also fight a rather cognitive robot which to me says you can implant a brain inside a Garlean robot. So we are not done. This is ongoing lore that we can use.
I don't think Zenos has so much tech at his disposal anymore because I think the Scions went back and dealt with the tempered Garleans. Zenos is out of lackeys. Zenos is a one-man show now after this, is what I'm thinking.
He would have never made it this far without Van Daniel in the first place. Van Daniel was carrying this mission.
Yeah, what would he have done? Just like have that terrible CrossFit training montage from Batman v Superman if he didn't have Van Daniel?
Or I guess he just wandered the world killing stuff that reminded him of us. Like some sort of insane breakup. Van Daniel's done all the lifting here. He's the elegant expert, so of course he's the one who's built this tower and knows how to run it, so when he's clacking away on the keys, it's no big surprise that Wizard Man knows how to use technology. Well done. Good working in that. We do use ether juiced from the land to take the ride to the moon. Might have been a bad move, a little morally ambiguous there, but hey, we gotta follow the bad guy.
I mean, they were already juiced. Like it's already there.
The leftovers, you might as well eat them.
Yeah, like if you're against meat, like I mean, if the animal's
Look,
already
the meat's
dead.
already cooked. I don't think that's how it works. No,
The meat's already cooked. The oil is already refined.
Yes.
The energy's already stored in that battery. It's just gonna fade out. You might as well use it.
And Heidelin messes with their itinerary, and they end up on the wrong side of the moon.
Essentially, yeah. Heidelin rebooked them on American. Kyle, is this it? Is this your favorite quote in the history of this game?
My lord, a slight change of plans. We shall travel to the moon and break this wretched barrier ourselves.
It's exactly what I wanted to have happen. Did I expect it at level 83? No.
The way it's delivered, it straight up sounds like something out of like Power Rangers. It's so absurd. I love it.
Absolutely love when absurdity makes perfect sense. My favorite thing about sci-fi fantasy.
It makes you laugh, but not because it's bad. Like you just move past the laughter of the absurdity because it does make sense.
It's joy. I was joyous during this entire part. Him programming his way to the moon. I love it. I loved Anima's face ass thing that we fought down there, falling up and down through the floors. It was such a wonderful climax that's not the climax.
It's absolutely freaking delightful. And then we get classic villain trope. Zenos and Van Daniel inform us that
The final order issued by Anima to the Tempered Thrones. Should the Empire fall, the world must share her fate.
save the people or follow us, Batman. Classic villain's choice. And we make our choice. The Warrior of Light, we go ahead, follow them to the moon while the Scions stay back and help with the Tempered. Level 83, to the moon.
Tonight is the night. What a beauty. And like put some French music under it. Maybe even set the scene to French so Van Daniel's walking around talking French. Thanks for subscribing. I gotta kick him out.